Hey, what's happening everybody? Rod J here, and a little bit different type of video this time. So, I was actually tagged in a video by Dean of Dean's Beer Reviews, and apparently this was all began with Niche from Taste and Niche, and if you haven't seen her channel, make sure you check it out. But she began a thing for frequently asked beer questions. And she put it out to a few people, and a few people put it to other people. And so Dean from Dean's Beer Reviews, another good channel, make sure you check him out from over in the UK, actually tagged me in to actually respond to some questions that were going around for the beer reviewers here, I guess, on YouTube. And so since he tagged me, I figured I'd take some time and respond to the questions, and I guess at the end I'm supposed to tag some other people, so I'll do that as well. I figure why not, a little bit something different and interesting. So the first question ended up being, how did I get into beer and why beer? Well, like most kids growing up, you try different things, I guess, and over a period of time when you grew up from the younger ages into high school and you were running around doing what you were doing, you would try stuff you weren't supposed to try, and I started trying beer. I mean, initially, the earliest I actually tried beer was when I was like probably around 6 or 7, being at my grandparents' house and actually cleaning up things where they'd have like a party or something like that and everything, and you're a little kid, so you're sifting some things here and there. So as I got older and really got into drinking a little bit more, I've had a taste for beer. I liked beer. It was always like a kind of comfortable type drink to have. During my college years, I actually bartended for a few years and did everything from beer to liquor to wine, and still liked the other ones as well. But just kind of got more comfortable with beer. It was easy. It was more accessible. It was just something you could kick back and relax. And depending on the pace you were drinking, you weren't getting too hammered like you were with some of the other stuff. So started to acquire a taste for it, and then the craft beer movement came back here, started to try different things and finding out different types of beers that I was really liking, not realizing they were out there. So started kind of adventuring into the different plateaus that were available. So that's why my channel is Rod J BeerVentures. I'm going around trying to find different stuff with beer. The second question is, what's my favorite beer? It's kind of a tough question to say, and the third question makes it a little harder. So I'm going to say my favorite beer is actually going to be my favorite style of beer, and in that regard is Belgian ales. Most of the people that know me know I'm a big Belgian fan, especially the Belgian quads. So that's really my favorite style. I think for something that has a nice amount of flavor and aroma and just a total package, the monks really got it down, and you can't go wrong with Belgian ale. Just like in what movie was that? Oh, Fast and Furious, and Kurt Russell's character offered Vin Diesel a beer, and pretty much he was talking about how good the Belgian ales were. Vin Diesel was obviously a Corona man, but Kurt tried to sell it as best he could, and Belgian ales are just that freaking good that I can just drink those pretty much any time, any part of the year, and really enjoy them.
Oh man, those monks got it right. I mean, I don't know about the whole celibacy thing, but when it comes to beer, would you like one? More of a Corona man myself.
The third question is, if I could have one beer, what would it be? Wow. So, if I could only have one beer, like my favorite beer is actually Golden Drop 9000. But I don't know if you have to have one beer for the rest of your life type thing, or just one beer to have one beer. So I'm thinking if it's supposed to be your favorite beer, there's so many beers out there, it's hard to pick a favorite, but right now, Golden Drop 9000 is my favorite one thus far. Question number 4, how can you drink so much and stay healthy? Well, depending, I guess, on how much someone actually drinks. It's funny, I saw a couple of the other videos being done, and I'm kind of in that same boat. I don't really drink as much as it may seem. You may have a beer or two a day, if that, maybe something on the weekend. Some days I skip on some of the beers I drink, but actually more health benefits have been shown by having beer. So you have things like bone density and other things that are being now proved by medical science. So actually having a beer a day is a good thing, and it actually can do good stuff for your body. And I've actually talked to my doctor before about different things because I'm a bigger guy and I'm just wondering about some of that. He's like, no, if you have like 1 or 2 a day, no more than 14 or so in a week, then you're pretty much okay, that your body can flush a lot of that stuff out. So that plays a big part of it. But I also lift weights and I also do cardio as much as I can depending on my work hours. But I'm usually in the gym for a while. I would actually do 2 a days where I come in and do 1 session of cardio and then come back and do another session of lifting weights. And it's a matter of when you can get that time in there, but you got to do something to make it healthy. For me, one of the things I actually do is I get beers in a one-off situation. So the only time I'll drink it is if I have to actually sit down and do a review about it, rather than loading up with a 6-pack or a 12-pack or something, because then I think that encourages more along those lines. Question number 5, am I an alkie? No, but it's funny, I used to have a joke like that, you know, it's the difference between alcoholic and a drunk. Well, alcoholic had to go to class. So, not an alkie, don't really crave it as much where I gotta have it type situation. There's days, like I said, I don't drink beer. I'm going weekends, you know, where I won't drink it at all or even think about it, or I'll be doing other things that I'm just too involved with that I won't drink it. So, no, not an alkie by any means. Do I brew? It's funny, from a lot of the other ones I've seen from some of the other people, mostly nobody has brewed. I actually have brewed before, and I've actually brewed various things. I've kind of taken a break over the last year and a half or so, but I would usually do small batch brewing, about 2.5 gallons, which would pump out about a case of beer. I've brewed things from peanut butter porters to lagers using serrano peppers and blackberries to just a wide range of different things, double IPAs. I want to get back into brewing some more. In fact, people that I work with here in my local office for my day job, they actually are asking me to brew more because they liked a lot of the beers I brewed in the past. So I think it's great if you do brew. I think it adds another part or element to what you're actually doing as a beer reviewer, because you've actually got in there and got your hands dirty. You got in and you smelled some of the hops, you got in and you dealt with some of the malts and the extracts, and it just adds a little bit more to it, I think. So you know kind of some other things to maybe look for as you're really enjoying and reviewing a lot of beers. Favorite ingredient? Tough one there. I mean, your ingredients for beer are your malts, your hops, your water, and your yeast. But then you have other people that add different adjuncts along those lines. For me, it's definitely the hops. I like to experiment with different hops, you know, whether it's using something like Citra or using something like Centennial or using Fugels or some of these other types of hops. I like to see what you can experiment with and how you can change the flavor up. Sometimes adding that spicy hop rather than a fruitful type hop can really add a little bit more of a difference. Plus, when you know how to actually add them in there, you have the availability of using them for bittering or you can use them for flavor, it adds a little bit more of a kick to it. So, yeah, I like hops, probably my favorite ingredient. What was my first beer? Well, as a youngster or a young lad running around, my first beer was really the champagne of beers. So those little bottles of Miller High Life, as a little kid, sneaking some sips off of those and trying those ones out. But then as I got older, and first time I went to go buy beer, I was probably in high school, and I think it was back in the day, and it wasn't as much of a craft beer scene. So a lot of times back in the day, people would drink a lot of 40s, a lot of malt liquor, stuff like that and everything. You're a high schooler, you want to get something, the best bang for your buck, so you want that kind of buzz type thing. So I used to drink like the Schlitz Red Bull, Schlitz Blue Bull, there was Colt 45, Cokie 900, different things along those lines. And those were probably the beers or the malt liquors that we would drink. We would get into other stuff that were kind of your cheap wine, like your Mad Dog 2020s and your Boone Farms and all that kind of stuff. But as far as kind of the beer type thing, it was usually that. Never really much on the whole macro type thing, although going to college, because then it was about getting the most you can for the cheap amount, then we would drink things like Milwaukee's Best and some of the other kind of trashier type beers along those lines. Who in the beer world do I look up to? It's kind of a weird question. I was thinking about that, and I've never been much to idolize anybody. I mean, it's more like an admiration. I mean, there's a lot of people that I admire. A lot of people probably will say they look up to, say, like Michael Jackson, who does the beer reviews, or used to do beer reviews before he died, and the stories he used to tell and everything. I never really got to watch a lot of the stuff he's done. I watched some here and there, but it's a little more dated, and it's not something I really checked out. I would say probably one of the first things I saw with beer reviewers was really the guys that do BrewDog. So going to New Jersey one year, I was sitting there watching Esquire TV, and they have a show where they would travel around making beers. That kind of piqued my interest there. But as I've gotten to meet more and more people that I know in the brewing industry, it's really the guys that put that beer together, the guys that go in there for none of the glory, but they love it, and the passion comes through when you're sitting with them and they're telling the stories, you know, from the brewers to the people that are serving the beer to the ones that are running the breweries to the guys that are unloading the trucks. It's just that whole camaraderie throughout the craft beer community that makes it kind of a fun thing. And of course, a lot of the beer reviewers that I associate with have made it fun. One of the first ones when I started looking at doing beer reviews, which I was actually reluctant to do, but my wife had pushed me into doing it, was probably like Strat, who ended up passing away. He was up in Canada. He was one that kind of drove some things there. Tom the Beer Whisperer, he was one that always got my attention. I always liked his personality coming through. Ronald Thoreau from down in Louisiana, some of the stories he would tell, these guys kind of piqued interest for me to actually look at, you know, maybe doing some of these beer reviews and having a little bit of fun with it. But for the most part, as far as the ones that I really admire, like the ones that really get in there and get their hands dirty and they're putting out these good quality beers that we can actually sit here and talk about and actually enjoy. So those were the 9 questions that were asked on this thing, and again, this goes back to Taste and Niche, who actually came up with this idea, and I suppose it tags some other people so they can give their responses, I believe. So I'm going to go ahead and tag Justin at Poorly Reviewed Beer, and I'm going to tag Eric at Lions Fan so they can actually respond to questions themselves. I'm going to tag Joe Sticks at Kentucky Swagger because I know he's going to have some good answers on some of his stuff. Ronald Thoreau, also Louisiana Beer Reviews. Who else am I missing out there? Maybe Chad, Albino Rhino, get him in here. Anybody else that I might want to have kicking it? There's so many of the guys I've already been invited in, so I'm trying not to duplicate anybody. You see Beer Healer, like to see Beer Healer give some responses here. Also Beer 30, see what Beer 30 comes up with. He doesn't do as much beer reviews, but he likes to play around and do a lot of stuff with the beer. Jean Pierre, Jean Pierre's got a channel. Go and do it as well. And then look at some ladies in here too. So Tanya Mikowski, she does beer reviews. She can get on here and do it. And one of our newcomers has actually been Holly. So Holly's Happy Hour. Holly, you can respond to this as well. And if anybody else wants to join in, please feel free to do so. But yeah, kind of interesting perspective, and allows some of the beer reviewers to give some details on why they do what they do and what they liked and how they got started in it. So thanks for watching. If you're still watching out there, appreciate it, and I look forward to catching up with you again on some more of the beer reviews. And if you haven't, of course, already subscribed, make sure you subscribe and comment and all that good stuff on any of the videos. And I appreciate your time. Look forward to catching up with you next time. I'm gonna go get a beer. You keep drinking them. Catch you soon. Cheers.